It's finally time to upgrade my gaming computer. Today we're going to talk about the components that are going to be going into it, specifically an unboxing and a reason for why I am going with the Asus Republic of Gamers Maximus XI Formula motherboard as the basis for my system. Let's see how this goes today. What is my current system? Well, it's based upon the Maximus IX Formula motherboard with an i7-7700K processor. Also have the Asus Strix GTX 1080 Ti graphics card in there. And then obviously I've got my whole water cooling setup in this. This happens to be the first time I was ever doing the hard tubing. I've always done soft tubing in the past, and that was quite an adventure in and of itself. I'm looking to clean up some of those bends this time around, but most importantly is get the new hardware in here. I'm going to be doing this one based upon the Republic of Gamers Maximus XI Formula. I'm going to tell you why here in a moment. Putting in the Core i9 9900K, and then I am actually going to be SLIing two RTX 2080 Ti's from EVGA. It's their For the Win 3 cards. I'm excited to do this and get this put together, but we're going to start off by talking about the main portion of this system, and that being the Maximus XI Formula motherboard and why I am choosing that. Okay, so here is our beautiful motherboard. And just a quick coming closer here, we'll take a look at some of the inputs, outputs on here and whatnot. You're going to have a 4-pin and an 8-pin CPU power. At the top here on the right, you've got an H-amp fan header. I believe it's a 3-amp header. You could use that for multiple fans on a splitter, or like what I will do, and use that for my second water pump. You've got an RGB header. You get your LED Q code, which is really nice to at least know if you've got any issues where they may lay it on the motherboard. Hard start and hard reset buttons right on the motherboard. Awesome again for overclocking and whatnot. You get 24 pin. You've got a Gen 2 3.1 USB header here, as well as what's nice, you have two Gen 1. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said Gen 1 or Gen 2. This is a Gen 2 3.1. This is a Gen 1 3.1 USB, and we have another one down here. Coming back up here, we have got an adjustable RGB header, your standard CPU and CPU optional fan headers, and then you get some additional fan headers in the middle of the motherboard. Obviously, the main reason I got this one, as opposed to the Extreme, it's already got the integrated water block from EK for the cooling of the VRMs. I really like the fact that they have reinforced the GPU brackets, PCIe lanes right down here. So these newer cards are getting heavier and heavier. I have personally not seen one break, but I guess you never really know. This all across the center section here, that lights up. I'm excited to get that plugged in and see what that looks like. You've got your SATA ports over here. You've got some more fan headers, pump headers, which I like that. And then you get down across the bottom, you get your standard USB and more fan, and ARGB, and an additional RGB header down here. This does have the Supreme FX audio built into it. Something that I think Asus does really well is the audio portion of their motherboard, which then if you come to the back I/O, I like the fact that the I/O shield is integrated, as you see. You've got your BIOS flashback switch, which is very handy to have if you're stuck. You got to reflash your BIOS. You can't get logged in, whatever the case is. You stick your USB flash card right in here, your flash drive. Press and hold this until it lights up, and it basically does everything on its own. You have a clear CMOS button externally, which is, again, really nice to have on the outside, so you're not dealing with having to pull off the battery and all that stuff and your crazy ways of setting the CMOS. You've got your USB 3.0 headers throughout here, right on the back. You've got your standard LAN and your 5G LAN. Now I will say, as a side note, I do wish that was the 10G LAN like what they do on the new Gigabyte motherboards, the Aorus ones. I think that they definitely could put that on here, especially for a $450 motherboard. You get your 3.1 headers. You've got a USB Type-C, which I like that. I do wish that this had Thunderbolt on the back. Another side bar, if you will. You've got integrated Wi-Fi. When this is 802.11ac, so that, that's nice. And then you've got your audio jacks. You get your digital SPDIF as well as your standard analogs. This motherboard, as well as with anything that ASUS seems to do, is made for overclocking, and that's what I'm going to be doing on this thing. So that is a very quick unboxing and overview of the Maximus XI Formula motherboard. I'm very excited to get this installed. I think it's going to look fantastic, as part of the ASUS motherboard lines is that you're paying for is the aesthetics of the look. I like the fact that it's color neutral. It's black, dark gray. I'm okay with the chrome accenting or the mirroring on it, as that's where the RGB is going to be lighting up anyway. It allows me to do things like this and customize the computer to how I want it to look, as opposed to having a base color that I have to kind of build a theme around or repaint or anything like that. Comments. I do wish that they would have had Thunderbolt support on this, on the rear I/O. My opinion, but it seems to be coming as standard. You're seeing that on Gigabyte's motherboards. I do wish it had a 10G LAN on it, such as the Gigabyte motherboard does. And mind you, those boards are a little less expensive than what the ASUS ones. The Extreme is $600 from ASUS. The Aorus Extreme is $550. The one that compares to this, which I'm just drawing a blank on what it's called right now. I'll pull it up here and show you a picture in a moment. But that one is less expensive than this and has a few more standard features. However, I still like the ASUS motherboards. Their BIOS, personally, are my favorite to navigate through. I'm comfortable with them. I think they're very stable and they just work. That's very important to me. And they overclock amazingly well. I have got no problems running my 7700K. I got up to 5.1 gigahertz, kind of stable. I left it pretty much running at 5 gigahertz the whole time, but that's a couple generation old processor, a couple generation old motherboard, and it worked very well. Well, these newer CPUs are made to go 5.1, 5.2, maybe even further on the core clock, and I'm really excited to see what I can do with this under an extreme cooling scenario and see how far we can push a 9900K. I'm also excited to get the EVGA RTX 2080 Ti cards in. The only reason I'm procrastinating on it is I do not want to install the EVGA Hydro Copper water blocks that they supply. One, they're $200 a piece. It's just nuts. Two, EKs are not $200 a piece. They look nicer and they have their own backplates that, again, look nicer for less money. I really like EK. I'd be excited if it was Fantex water blocks. Again, they're less expensive, look nicer, and I can't really say works better because I don't know that. Bits Power, I'd be happy for that, or a water cooler, but just EVGA, for whatever reason, on their water blocks, they've gone psychotically off their rocker and thinking that they're worth $200 without any customizable backplate, and frankly, they're not that pretty. So that's why I'm procrastinating on getting this all in and getting this done. But I am going to get the motherboard in, I am going to get the CPU in, and then decide if I'm just going to leave the 1080 Ti for a little bit, or if I'm just going to suck it up and put the two 2080 Ti's in and call it a day. Also, I am still looking for a name for this. I have have a very hard time coming up with a name other than my main gaming rig. I don't like that. It sounds dumb. It's uncreative, and I don't like that. However, I'm not very creative when it comes to coming up with cool names. So please leave comments in the comment section below and let me know, what should I name this thing? Just give me some ideas. I don't know what to do. Anyway, that's where we're at today. Next week, I am going to be putting this in, and that's what we're going to do next week, is actually install the motherboard, get the 9900K in, do a couple benchmarks, and then probably do a little bit of overclocking on it as well. If you like the video, you know what to do. If you don't like it, you also know what to do. Please hit subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you next time around. Thanks for joining us today.